On a busy street corner, a mother's desperate voice echoed through the air as she performed to raise money for her sick son's treatment. Her child rested wearily in her arms as she poured her heart into every note. But she was completely unaware that Snoop Dogg had stopped his pink Cadillac to hear the song, and his presence was about to change everything. The cold emptiness of the children's hospital pressed down as Amanda Taylor sat in the brightly lit consultation room, her 3-year-old son Liam perched on her lap. The clinical white walls, adorned with colorful animal decals, seemed to mock the gravity of the situation unfolding within. Liam, oblivious to the tension in the room, played quietly with a worn teddy bear, its matted fur a testament to countless nights of comfort. Dr. Evelyn Carter, a specialist pediatric oncologist with kind eyes and graying hair, sat across from them. Her desk was covered with an array of scan results and medical charts, each one a piece of the puzzle that made up Liam's condition. The doctor's hands moved deliberately as she began to speak, her voice carrying both professional authority and genuine compassion. "Amanda," Dr. Carter began, her eyes meeting the young mother's gaze, "I'm afraid the results of Liam's latest tests confirm our worst fears. He has stage 4 neuroblastoma." Amanda's grip on Liam tightened involuntarily, her heart racing as she struggled to process the words. "Stage 4, she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Carter nodded solemnly. Yes, the cancer has spread from his adrenal gland to parts of his left kidney. She reached for one of the scans on her desk, holding it up to the light. "If you look here," she said, pointing to various areas on the image, "you can see the progression of the disease." Amanda leaned forward, her eyes straining to make sense of the grainy black and white image. To her untrained eye, it was a confusing mess of shadows and shapes, but in Dr. Carter's experienced hands, it became a map of her son's illness. What does this mean for Liam?" Amanda asked, her voice trembling. "How long?" She couldn't bring herself to finish the question. Dr. Carter set the scan down, her expression softening. "Amanda, I want to be honest with you. Without aggressive intervention, Liam may only have 6 months, possibly up to a year at best." The words hit Amanda like a physical blow. She instinctively pulled Liam closer, as if she could shield him from the harsh reality with her embrace. The little boy, sensing his mother's distress, looked up at her with wide, innocent eyes. "Mama," he said, his small voice cutting through the heavy silence that had fallen over the room. Amanda forced a smile, running her hand over Liam's bald head. "It's okay, sweetie," she murmured, though she felt anything but okay. Dr. Carter leaned forward, her voice taking on a more hopeful tone. "However, I want to emphasize that with proper treatment, including surgery and immunotherapy, many children achieve remission or prolonged survival. We've seen remarkable progress in recent years with these treatments." Amanda nodded, clinging to this glimmer of hope. "And the treatment, when can we start?" Dr. Carter's expression shifted slightly, a hint of concern creeping into her features. "Amanda, we've been having these consultations for some time now. I have to ask, what's preventing you from moving forward with Liam's treatment?" The question hung in the air, heavy and unavoidable. Amanda's composure, which she had been desperately trying to maintain, finally cracked. Tears welled up in her eyes as she tried to explain. "Our insurance," she began, her voice thick with emotion, "it only covers basic chemotherapy, consultations and diagnostic tests. I can't afford the recommended surgery and immunotherapy." The absence of her late husband weighed heavily on her in that moment. If he was still alive, maybe they could have managed. But as a single mother, working multiple jobs just to keep a roof over their heads, the cost of advanced cancer treatment seemed insurmountable. Dr. Carter nodded with understanding, her eyes filled with sympathy. "I see. I'm so sorry, Amanda. I know how difficult this must be for you." She paused, considering her next words carefully. "We'll continue with the basic chemotherapy to give Liam the best chance possible under these circumstances, and I promise you, we'll explore every option available to us." Amanda nodded, grateful for the doctor's compassion, but feeling utterly helpless in the face of her son's illness and the financial barriers that stood in the way of his treatment. As the consultation drew to a close, Dr. Carter stood and walked around her desk, placing a comforting hand on Amanda's shoulder. "We're not giving up, Amanda. Liam is a fighter, and we'll be fighting right alongside him." Amanda looked up at the doctor, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you," she managed to say, her voice barely audible. As they left the consultation room, Amanda held Liam's hand, his small body feeling more fragile than ever. The colourful animal decals on the walls now seemed to blur together, a kaleidoscope of false cheer in a world that had suddenly become very dark and uncertain. The bright white lights of the hospital corridor gave way to the softer glow of the billing counter, as Amanda, with Liam still in her hold, approached the desk. The clerk behind the counter, a middle-aged woman with a kind face, looked up as they approached. "Hello, Mrs. Taylor," she greeted, recognizing them from their frequent visits. "How can I help you today?" Amanda shifted Liam to her hip, freeing one hand to reach for her wallet. "I need to settle today's bill, please," she said, her voice still raw from the emotional consultation. The clerk nodded, turning to her computer. Her fingers flew over the keyboard as she pulled up the day's charges. After a moment, she looked back at Amanda. "The total for today's consultation, imaging and chemotherapy session comes to $5,500. Amanda's heart sank at the figure, even though she had been expecting it. She wordlessly handed over her insurance card, praying silently that there wouldn't be any issues with the coverage. The clerk processed the card, her eyes scanning the screen. After what felt like an eternity to Amanda, she smiled. "Good news, Mrs. Taylor. Today's treatment is fully covered by your insurance." A small wave of relief washed over Amanda, but it did little to ease the overall burden of their situation. She knew that this basic coverage, while helpful, fell far short of what Liam truly needed. "Thank you," Amanda said, managing a weak smile as she took back her insurance card. As they left the billing counter, Amanda felt the weight of their financial reality pressing down on her. The relief of having today's treatment covered was overshadowed by the knowledge that the life-saving treatments Liam needed remained far out of reach. They made their way through the hospital's sliding doors and into the parking lot. The afternoon sun beat down on them, a stark contrast to the air-conditioned interior of the hospital. Amanda walked with Liam to their old weathered van, its faded paint and rust spots a testament to years of use and minimal maintenance. Opening the side door, Amanda carefully placed Liam in his car seat. The seat itself was a salvaged one, acquired second-hand when their original had been damaged in a minor accident. The broken seatbelt served as a stark reminder of their financial situation, a small repair that had to be postponed in favor of more pressing needs. As she secured Liam in the seat, using a makeshift strap to compensate for the broken belt, Amanda felt a wave of maternal guilt wash over her. She knew the seat wasn't ideal, but it was the best she could manage given their circumstances. Closing the door, Amanda made her way to the driver's seat. As she sat behind the wheel, Dr. Evelyn's words echoed in her mind. The desperate need for treatments they couldn't afford, the ticking clock on Liam's life without proper intervention. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, knuckles turning white as she fought back a fresh wave of tears. Starting the engine, which sputtered to life after a few tries, Amanda pulled out of the hospital parking lot. As they drove through the city streets, her mind raced with calculations and possibilities. She thought about the money she had managed to save so far from her street performances, but it was a drop in the ocean compared to what they needed. The streets blurred past as Amanda headed toward her usual performance spot. Her thoughts were a whirlwind of worry and determination. Somewhere in this city, there had to be a way to save her son. She just had to find it. As they drove, Liam's quiet voice came from the back seat. "Mama, sing." Amanda glanced in the rearview mirror, meeting her son's eyes. Despite everything, she managed a smile. "Of course, sweetie. What song do you want?" "Twinkle Star," Liam replied, his face lighting up. And so, as they made their way through the bustling city, Amanda's voice filled the old van singing "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star" for her son. In that moment, she made a silent promise to herself and to Liam she would find a way, no matter what it took, to give him the treatment he needed. The song might be about stars, but for Amanda, Liam was her whole universe, and she would move heaven and earth to keep him shining. The van came to a halt along a moderately busy shopping street on a Monday afternoon, parking in the same spot Amanda had frequented for months. The sidewalks were quieter than usual, a stark contrast to the bustling activity of the previous weekend. Amanda took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. "Okay, Liam," she said, turning to look at her son in the back seat. "Mommy's going to sing for a while. You can nap if you want or look at your book, okay?" Liam nodded, already reaching for the tattered picture book that was his constant companion during these sessions, but yawned at the same time. Amanda smiled at him, her heart swelling with love and determination. She stepped out of the van and made her way to the back, opening the doors to reveal her modest equipment. There wasn't much: a worn microphone, a small battery-powered speaker that showed signs of repeated repairs, and a lone cardboard sign reading, "Help my son." Usually she'd set up multiple signs showing Liam's journey, but they had been damaged by a sudden summer rain a few days ago, and she hadn't had the chance to make new ones. With practiced ease, Amanda began arranging her makeshift stage on the sidewalk. The concrete, still warm from the summer sun, radiated heat as she carefully set up her equipment, mindful to leave enough room for pedestrians to walk by. She cast a quick glance back at the van parked just a few steps away. Through the window she could see Liam's fragile frame, a poignant reminder of why she was here. His eyelids were drooping. He was ready for his nap. As she worked, Amanda's mind wandered to the countless times she had done this over the past months. The faces of kind strangers who had stopped to listen, the occasional harsh words from those who didn't understand or care to, the slow accumulation of donations that never seemed to be enough. It all swirled in her memory. Finally, everything was in place. Amanda stood behind the microphone, fighting back her doubts about the futility of her efforts. She knew what she had collected so far from all the generous people was a lot, but it would never be enough. And even if it would be in a few years, then it would be too late. Despite all the doubt raging in her mind, Amanda held on to hope, convincing herself that singing and begging on the street was better than sitting idly in her run-down house. Taking a deep breath, Amanda began to sing. Her voice carried across the busy street, each note carrying both hope and desperation. The first song was one she had sung countless times before, a popular ballad that often drew people's attention. As she sang, passers-by began to slow their pace. Some stopped to listen, their expressions a mix of curiosity and sympathy. Others, perhaps in a hurry or simply uninterested, walked by without a glance. But here and there people approached her collection box, dropping in coins or bills. Amanda's voice never faltered, even as she watched the meager contributions accumulate. She knew every cent counted, every donation brought them a tiny step closer to the treatment Liam needed. But in her heart she also knew it wasn't enough. The urgency of Liam's needs weighed heavily on her, making each song feel both comforting in its familiarity and inadequate in the face of their desperate situation. As she finished her first set of songs, Amanda paused to catch her breath. She glanced at her collection box, estimating the day's earnings so far. It wasn't much, but it was something. She then looked back at the van where Liam was still asleep. Amanda felt the strain in her voice and decided it was time for a short break. She stepped away from her makeshift stage and walked over to the van where Liam was sitting. The little boy stirred from his nap as the singing stopped and was now looking out the window with curious eyes. "Hey, sweetie," Amanda said softly as she opened the van door. "Are you hungry?" Liam nodded, his small hands reaching out for her. Amanda lifted him from the car seat, feeling the familiar pang of worry at how light he felt in her arms. She retrieved his lunchbox from the front seat, a simple container holding a plain bread sandwich. The sight of it made her heart ache with guilt. "I'm sorry it's not much, Liam," she whispered, more to herself than to her son. "Mommy promises to get you something better later, okay?" Liam didn't seem to mind, happily taking the sandwich and biting into it. Amanda watched him eat, making a silent vow to buy him something more nutritious at the end of the day. She then prepared his milk, handing him the sippy cup which he took with his free hand. While Liam ate, Amanda took a moment to count the day's earnings. She emptied the collection box, quickly sorting through the bills and coins. The total came to $43 for an hour's work. Not too bad for a side job, she thought to herself, but the small sum weighed heavily as she pocketed it, knowing how far short it fell of their needs. As Liam finished his simple meal, he looked up at Amanda with those big, trusting eyes that never failed to melt her heart. "Mama, up?" he asked, reaching out his arms. Amanda smiled, unable to resist his request. "Of course, sweetheart," she said, lifting him into her arms. With Liam securely held, she made her way back to the microphone. Standing there with her son in her arms, Amanda felt a surge of emotion. She knew exactly what song she wanted to sing next. Taking a deep breath, she began the opening notes of Clouds by Zach Sobik. As she sang, her voice carried the emotion of every parent who's faced losing a child to cancer. The lyrics, "And we'll go up, 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 but I'll fly a little higher," floated through the air, drawing more attention from passing shoppers. Even some car drivers slowed down as they passed, windows rolling down to catch the haunting melody. Halfway through the song, Amanda noticed a pink Cadillac approaching. The car slowed to a crawl, its driver watching intently from behind the wheel. Instead of driving by, the Cadillac pulled over to the sidewalk, stopping just behind her van. Amanda continued singing, her focus on the song and the growing crowd around her. She didn't pay much attention to the Cadillac, assuming it was just another passerby drawn in by the music. As she finished the song, there was a moment of hushed silence before the small crowd burst into applause. People began approaching, dropping money into her collection box and offering words of encouragement. Amanda thanked them, her heart warmed by their generosity. It was only after the crowd had begun to disperse that Amanda noticed movement from the Cadillac. The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out. He was dressed in a blue shirt and blue blazer, his presence commanding attention even before Amanda realized who he was. Her eyes widened in shock as recognition dawned. Standing there, just a few feet away, was none other than Snoop Dogg. The rapper removed his sunglasses, revealing eyes that glistened with unshed tears. There was a seriousness to his expression that seemed at odds with his public persona. Amanda stood frozen, Liam still in her arms as Snoop Dogg approached. "That was beautiful," he said, his voice low and filled with emotion. "That song, it means a lot to me. Reminds me of a close friend I lost to cancer." Amanda nodded, still too stunned to form words. Snoop's gaze shifted to Liam, taking in the boy's frail appearance and bald head. Understanding dawned in his eyes as he recognized the signs of chemotherapy. "Your son?" he asked gently. Amanda nodded again, finding her voice. "Yes, this is Liam." Snoop's expression softened further. "Hey there, little man," he said, offering Liam a warm smile. Then, turning back to Amanda, he asked, "Mind if we talk for a bit?" Amanda, still processing the surreal turn of events, nodded in agreement to Snoop's request. "Of course," she managed to say, her voice slightly shaky. Snoop patted his pockets, a look of mild frustration crossing his face. "Hold on a sec," he said. "I think I left my checkbook in the car." As Snoop turned to walk back to his Cadillac, a sharp voice cut through the murmur of the crowd. "Hey, you need to stop faking your son's illness to gain sympathy." Amanda whirled around, clutching Liam closer to her chest, to see a woman pushing her way through the onlookers. The woman's face was contorted with anger and disgust as she pointed an accusing finger at Amanda. "Let him grow some hair and we'll all know he's fine and healthy," the woman continued, her voice dripping with mockery. "Don't you know that your voice isn't that good, actually? Get away, you're obstructing the walkway." The cruel words echoed off the surrounding buildings, drawing uncomfortable stares from the few passer-by. Amanda felt her cheeks burn with a mix of anger and shame. She opened her mouth to defend herself, but no words came out. Snoop, who had paused midway to his car at the sound of the commotion, turned back. His normally laid-back demeanor had hardened, his eyes narrowing as he approached the confrontation. "Excuse me," he said, his voice carrying a hint of steel beneath its usual smoothness. "But do you have any idea what you're talking about?" The woman, realizing it was Snoop Dogg addressing her, faltered for a moment before regaining her bravado. "I'm Jemima Jasmine," she said, her tone switching from aggressive to fawning in an instant. "Oh my God, can I get a picture with you?" Snoop's expression remained stern. "Your name sounds like a singer's name," he said coolly. "If you could sing better than her and apologized for being cruel and judgmental, then I'll consider taking a picture with you." Jemima looked taken aback. I can't sing," she stammered. "I never learned, but my voice would definitely sound better if you would take and train me." Snoop's annoyance was palpable now. "You know," he said, his voice low and serious, "people who are proud and cruel are not my fans, and I do not support your judgmental behavior toward Amanda." He turned to Amanda, asking, "That is your name, right?" Amanda nodded, still holding Liam close. "Yes, Amanda," she confirmed softly. Snoop turned back to Jemima. "I think Amanda has an amazing voice and real talent. I want to support her." Jemima's face fell, realizing she had severely misjudged the situation. She opened her mouth as if to say something more, but Snoop's stern gaze silenced her. Without another word, she turned and continued her way down the walkway, disappearing down the street. As the tension of the moment began to dissipate, Snoop turned back to Amanda. His expression softened as he looked at her and Liam. "I'm sorry about that," he said genuinely. "Some people just don't understand." Amanda, still reeling from the confrontation and Snoop's unexpected defense, managed a small smile. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You really didn't have to do that. There are people like her every day on the streets. I've encountered them for months." Snoop shook his head. "No, I did have to do that. Nobody deserves to be treated that way, especially not when they're already going through so much." He paused, his gaze moving between Amanda and Liam. "Listen, I'd really like to hear your story if you're willing to share it." Amanda hesitated for a moment, then nodded. She had been silent for so long, carrying the weight of their struggle alone. Maybe it was time to open up, to let someone else understand their fight. And so, with Liam still in her arms and Snoop listening intently, Amanda began to tell their story. Amanda took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts before she began to speak. Snoop's attention was fully on her, his expression open and compassionate. "This is Liam," Amanda started, gently stroking her son's head. "He's 3 years old and he has stage 4 neuroblastoma." Her voice cracked slightly on the words, the reality of their situation hitting her anew as she said it out loud. Snoop's eyes widened, a flash of pain crossing his features. "I'm so sorry," he said softly. "That's a tough battle for anyone, let alone a little one." Amanda nodded, swallowing hard before continuing. "We found out a few months ago. The cancer started in his adrenal gland but has spread to his left kidney. Our insurance, it only covers basic chemotherapy, consultations and diagnostic tests. But what Liam really needs is surgery to extract the cancer cells from his adrenal gland, and then immunotherapy." She paused, looking down at Liam, who was quietly playing with the collar of her shirt, oblivious to the gravity of the conversation. "I've been singing and, well, begging on the streets for months for his treatment. People are generous, more than I could ever thank them for, but it's just not enough to cover his whole treatment and ongoing needs." Snoop listened intently, his brow furrowed in concern. "And the doctors? What do they say about his chances?" Amanda's eyes welled up with tears. "Without the full treatment, they say he might only have 6 months to a year." She quickly wiped her eyes, not wanting Liam to see her cry. "But with the right treatment, there's hope, real hope. I can't afford it." Snoop nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. He seemed to be on the verge of saying something when Amanda suddenly spoke up again, her voice tinged with desperation. "I can prove his condition's real," she said quickly. "I have his hospital records in the van. I know some people think I'm faking, but I would never—" Snoop held up a hand, stopping her. Hey, he said gently. "You don't need to prove anything to me. I believe you." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a checkbook. Amanda watched, her heart racing as he began to write. But then, to her surprise and dismay, Snoop suddenly tore the check in half. "I'm sorry," Amanda said quickly, thinking she had somehow ruined her chance by saying too much. "I didn't mean to." But Snoop was smiling, a look of determination in his eyes. No, he said. I'm tearing this up because I want to help you in more than this written check can ever do. Amanda stared at him, confusion and hope warring in her expression. What do you mean? Snoop's smile widened. I see more than just a mother in need here. I see genuine talent that deserves bigger exposure. His eyes lit up with inspiration. I have an idea, but I need to make a quick call. Will you wait here for me? Still stunned, Amanda could only nod. She watched as Snoop walked back to his Cadillac, phone in hand. As he spoke animatedly into the device, Amanda looked down at Liam, who was now resting his head in her arms. Sleepy again, buddy? And Liam nodded. Why am I always sleepy? I want to play. I don't know what's happening, sweetie, she whispered to him, as if answering his question, but in fact Amanda was answering her own confusion. But I think things might be about to change for us. After what seemed like an eternity, but was probably only a few minutes, Snoop returned, a broad grin on his face. Okay, he said, clapping his hands together. I need you to keep singing. Can you do that for me? Amanda nodded, still bewildered but willing to trust him. Of course, she said. Great, Snoop replied. I'll be right back. Just keep doing what you do best. With that, he climbed into his Cadillac and drove off, leaving Amanda standing there, wondering if the last few minutes had been some kind of dream. Taking a deep breath, Amanda gently placed Liam back in his car seat, making sure he was comfortable. Then, with a mix of uncertainty and hope, she returned to her microphone and began to sing once more. As her voice filled the air, Amanda couldn't help but wonder what Snoop had planned. Amanda had just finished her 5th song since Snoop's departure when she heard the unmistakable rumble of a vehicle approaching. To her amazement, it wasn't just Snoop returning in his Cadillac. Behind him was a van, and as both vehicles pulled up, she saw it was filled with what looked like professional sound equipment. Snoop stepped out of his car, a wide grin on his face. He was followed by several people. Some she recognized as his security team. Others she assumed were part of a production crew. They immediately began unloading equipment from the van. What's all this? Amanda asked, her eyes wide with surprise. Snoop's grin widened. I remember there's a production store in this street, selling equipment, and I was right. Here they are, building you a cute little stage. As the crew worked quickly and efficiently to set up speakers, microphones, and even lights, Snoop explained his plan to Amanda. If you're okay with it, he said, I'd like to set up a live stream while you sing. People can come by, hear about your struggle, and donate. What do you think? Amanda felt tears welling up in her eyes. I don't know what to say, she stammered. This is incredible, thank you. Snoop nodded, his expression turning serious for a moment. You've got real talent, Amanda, and a cause that deserves support. Let's see if we can make something happen here. As the impromptu stage neared completion, a small crowd began to gather, drawn by the unusual activity and the presence of a celebrity. Snoop's security team kept them at a respectful distance while the production crew made final adjustments. Okay, Snoop said, turning to Amanda. Are you ready? Amanda took a deep breath, glancing over at her van where Liam was still sleeping peacefully. She thought about all the months of struggle, of singing on the streets with little hope of ever raising enough money. And now this unexpected opportunity had literally appeared out of nowhere. I'm ready, she said, her voice firm with newfound determination. Snoop nodded approvingly. All right then, let's do this. He pulled out his phone and began setting up the live stream. As he did, he addressed the growing crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced, his voice carrying easily over the street noise, we're about to witness something special. This is Amanda, and she's got a voice that'll blow you away. But more importantly, she's got a story you need to hear. Amanda stepped up to the microphone, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. The professional equipment was a far cry from her usual setup, and the crowd was larger than she was used to. But as she looked out at the sea of faces all waiting expectantly, she felt a surge of hope. Hello, everyone, she began, her voice clear and strong. My name is Amanda, and this is for my son, Liam. With that, she launched into her first song. Her voice, now properly amplified, carried even more emotion than before. The crowd fell silent, captivated by her performance. Between songs, Amanda shared their story, her words touching the hearts of many in the growing audience. She spoke of Liam's diagnosis, of their struggles with medical bills, of her daily battle to raise funds for his treatment. As she talked, she could see people in the crowd wiping away tears, reaching for their phones or wallets. The donations began to pour in. Amanda's old collection box, still sitting at the edge of the makeshift stage, quickly filled to overflowing. One of Snoop's security guards had to continuously empty it into paper bags to make room for more contributions. As the impromptu concert continued, the crowd swelled even further. Word spread rapidly through social media and text messages, drawing more and more people to the scene. Cars slowed as they passed, some pulling over to join the audience. Snoop, meanwhile, was monitoring the live stream on his phone. Every so often, he'd give Amanda a thumbs up, his face beaming with pride and satisfaction. He made occasional comments to the online audience, encouraging them to donate and spread the word. Amanda sang song after song, her voice never faltering. She poured her heart into every note, every word, driven by the hope that this unexpected turn of events might be the miracle she and Liam had been waiting for. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the street, the energy of the crowd showed no signs of diminishing. Amanda's voice soared into the evening air, carrying with it the dreams and prayers of a mother fighting for her child's life. But just as she was about to start another song, a commotion at the edge of the crowd caught her attention. 2 police officers had arrived, making their way through the mass of people towards the stage. As the police officers approached the stage, Snoop stepped forward to intercept them. Amanda watched nervously, her hand instinctively reaching for the microphone as if to protect it. "Good evening, officers," Snoop said, his tone respectful, but carrying an undercurrent of authority. "Is there a problem?" The taller of the 2 officers, a man with salt and pepper hair, spoke first. "We've received complaints about noise and crowding. I'm afraid we're going to have to ask you to disperse." Snoop nodded understandingly. "Of course, officer. We didn't mean to cause any trouble. We were just trying to help out a mother and her sick child." He gestured towards Amanda, who was still standing uncertainly by the microphone. The officer's expression softened slightly as he looked at Amanda and then at the van where Liam was visible through the window. "I see," he said. "Well, we appreciate what you're trying to do here, but we still need to clear the area for safety reasons." "Absolutely," Snoop agreed. "We'll wrap it up right away. Thank you for your patience." As the officers stepped back, Snoop turned to the crowd. "All right, everyone," he announced. "We've got to call it a night. Thank you all for your incredible support. Please remember Amanda and Liam in your thoughts and prayers." The crowd began to disperse, many people stopping to drop final donations into the overflowing collection box before they left. The production crew efficiently began breaking down the equipment, packing it away into their van. Amanda stood in the middle of it all, feeling overwhelmed by the events of the day. Snoop approached her, a warm smile on his face. "You did amazing," he said. "How are you feeling?" I don't even know," Amanda replied, her voice thick with emotion. "This is all so unbelievable. Thank you so much." Snoop nodded, his expression turning thoughtful. "Listen," he said, "it's getting late in a few hours." He checked his clock. "How about I give you a ride home? We can talk more about next steps." Amanda hesitated. "That's very kind of you, but I have my own car," she said, gesturing towards her old van. Snoop followed her gaze, his brow furrowing slightly as he took in the vehicle's condition. "I understand," he said, "but if you don't mind, my security guard can drive your car and follow us. You and Liam can ride with me. I want to show you something." Amanda considered for a moment. The events of the day had been so extraordinary that this additional offer of kindness almost seemed too much. But as she looked at Snoop's sincere expression, she found herself nodding. "Okay," she agreed, "but I'll need Liam's car seat." Snoop grinned. "No problem at all." As Snoop's security team carefully transferred Liam's car seat to the Cadillac's back seat, Amanda gathered her belongings. She hesitated for a moment before handing over her van keys to one of Snoop's guards, a lingering worry about entrusting her only vehicle to a stranger. "Don't worry," Snoop reassured her, noticing her hesitation. My team is completely trustworthy. Your van is in good hands. Amanda nodded, taking a deep breath before climbing into the passenger seat of Snoop's pink Cadillac. She watched as Snoop gently lifted the still sleeping Liam and secured him in the car seat. As Snoop settled into the driver's seat and started the engine, he glanced back at Liam with a smile. Finally, a baby in the Cadillac. How cool is that? Amanda couldn't help but laugh, the absurdity of the situation finally hitting her. It's definitely a first for us, she said. As they merged into traffic, Snoop handed his phone to Amanda. Take a look, he said. I recorded the live stream. Amanda scrolled through the video, her eyes widening as she saw the countless supportive comments flooding the screen. People from all over were expressing their support, asking how they could donate, and sharing her story. The stark contrast between her morning hospital visit and her current situation left her nearly speechless. I don't know what to say, she finally managed, handing the phone back to Snoop. Snoop nodded understandingly. It's a lot to take in, I know, but this is just the beginning, Amanda. We're going to make sure Liam gets the treatment he needs. As they drove through the city streets, Snoop asked, So where's home? Amanda hesitated, suddenly self-conscious. It's not in a great neighborhood, she said quietly. Someone like you shouldn't be there. Snoop chuckled. Someone like me, Amanda, I grew up in poverty. Trust me, there's not much I haven't seen. Seeing her surprised expression, Snoop continued, his voice taking on a more serious tone. I sold candy, delivered newspapers, and bagged groceries just to survive. I know what it's like to struggle, to wonder where your next meal is coming from. As he spoke, Snoop opened up about his own background, sharing stories of his childhood in a crime-ridden neighborhood. His candid revelations about growing up in difficult circumstances helped bridge the gap between their different worlds, making Amanda more comfortable with accepting his help. So, Snoop concluded with a gentle smile, I hope you'd welcome me into your home. No judgment here, just support. Amanda felt tears welling up in her eyes, touched by Snoop's openness and understanding. Thank you, she said softly. It means a lot to hear that. As they continued their journey, Amanda gave directions guiding them through increasingly run-down neighborhoods. The contrast between Snoop's gleaming Cadillac and the surrounding poverty was stark, but Snoop seemed unfazed, his expression remaining warm and open. Finally, they pulled up in front of Amanda's small, dilapidated house, the security guard in Amanda's van parked behind them. As they all got out of the vehicles, Amanda couldn't help but feel a twinge of embarrassment at the state of her home. I'm sorry about the conditions, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Every spare penny goes to Liam's care and our basic necessities. Snoop placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Amanda, you have nothing to apologize for. You're doing everything you can for your son, and that's what matters. With Liam now awake and in Amanda's arms, they made their way to the front door. As Amanda fumbled with her keys, she took a deep breath, preparing herself to welcome Snoop Dogg into her humble home. As Amanda pushed open the front door, the hinges creaked in protest, a sound she had grown accustomed to over the months. She stepped aside, allowing Snoop to enter first, her heart pounding with a mix of embarrassment and gratitude. The interior of the house was a stark contrast to the world Snoop had likely grown accustomed to. The living room was sparsely furnished, with a worn couch and a small coffee table being the only notable pieces. The walls, though clean, showed signs of peeling paint and old water damage. I'm sorry it's not much, Amanda said softly, setting Liam down on his feet. The little boy immediately toddled over to a corner, where a small pile of well-loved toys lay. Snoop's eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail. His expression remained neutral, but there was a softness in his gaze that put Amanda at ease. No need to apologize, he said. This is your home, and you've clearly done your best to make it comfortable for Liam. Amanda nodded, grateful for his understanding. Would you like a tour? She offered, trying to inject some lightness into her voice. I'd love one, Snoop replied with a gentle smile. As they moved through the small house, the extent of Amanda and Liam's situation became even clearer. In the kitchen, Amanda explained how the sink had stopped working months ago, and she now had to wash everything in the laundry sink. "I do the dishes, the laundry, everything in there," she said, gesturing to the small utility room off the kitchen. "It's not ideal, but we make it work." Snoop nodded, his brow furrowed in concern. "And repairs?" Amanda shook her head. "I don't bother spending money to fix the house. Every cent goes to Liam's care or our basic needs. At least it's clean enough that Liam doesn't get sick or injured, even if things aren't in great shape." As they continued the tour, Amanda showed Snoop the bedroom she shared with Liam. A single bed took up most of the space, with a small cot for Liam squeezed in beside it. A chest of drawers, its paint chipped and worn, stood against one wall. "We make do," Amanda said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's not much, but it's home." Snoop stood in the doorway, his eyes taking in every detail. When he spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "Amanda, I've seen a lot in my life, but the love and dedication you have for your son, it's truly inspiring." Amanda felt tears welling up in her eyes at his words. "Thank you," she managed to say. "I just wish I could do more for him." They made their way back to the living room, where Liam was still playing quietly with his toys. Snoop watched the little boy for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "Amanda," he said finally, turning to face her, "I want to help you and Liam, not just with a donation, but in a way that could change your lives." Amanda's heart began to race. "What do you mean?" Snoop took a deep breath. "I run a private charity through my music label. We help people in need, especially children with medical issues. I'd like to cover all of Liam's remaining treatment costs." Amanda gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. But that's too much. The treatment, it's so expensive. I can't accept that kind of handout." Snoop shook his head. "It's not a handout, Amanda. It's an investment in Liam's future and in your talent. I heard you sing today. You have a gift, and I believe with the right support, you could have a real career in music." Amanda stood there, stunned into silence. Her mind raced with possibilities, but also with doubts. I don't know what to say," she finally managed. Snoop's expression softened. "You don't have to say anything right now, but Liam needs urgent medical care, and while your music career will cover it eventually, it will take time. Time that Liam might not have. Let me help you give him the best chance possible." As Amanda struggled to find words, Liam toddled over to them, reaching up to be held. She lifted him into her arms, holding him close as she looked at Snoop. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Snoop nodded, his eyes filled with determination. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." The reality of Snoop's offer hung in the air, almost tangible in its weight and significance. Amanda stood there, Liam in her arms, her mind racing with a whirlwind of emotions. Hope, disbelief, gratitude, and a touch of fear at such a drastic change in their circumstances. Snoop, sensing her overwhelm, spoke again, his voice gentle but filled with enthusiasm. "Amanda, what are you waiting for? Let's call Liam's doctor now. What's her name?" "Dr. Evelyn," Amanda replied automatically, still dazed by the turn of events. "All right then," Snoop said, his tone brightening. "Dial Dr. Evelyn or the hospital, and let them know Liam will get the best treatment he deserves right now." Amanda nodded, fumbling for her phone with her free hand. As she dialed the hospital's number, her hand trembling slightly, she couldn't help but marvel at how quickly their lives had changed in just one day. "Hello, St. Mary's Children's Hospital," came the receptionist's voice. "Yes, hello," Amanda said, her voice stronger than she expected. "This is Amanda Taylor, Liam Taylor's mother. I need to speak with Dr. Evelyn Carter urgently, please." There was a brief pause, then, "One moment, Mrs. Taylor. I'll see if Dr. Carter is available." As they waited, Snoop gave Amanda an encouraging nod. Liam, sensing the tension in the room, looked up at his mother with curious eyes. "Dr. Carter speaking," came the familiar voice after a few moments. "Dr. Evelyn," Amanda said, her voice catching slightly. "It's Amanda Taylor. I have some news about Liam's treatment." "Oh?" Dr. Carter's voice was a mix of curiosity and concern. "What's happened, Amanda?" Amanda took a deep breath, glancing at Snoop for reassurance. We We can proceed with the full treatment plan. The surgery, the immunotherapy, everything. We have the funds now. There was a moment of stunned silence on the other end of the line. Amanda, that's wonderful news, Dr. Carter said, her voice filled with genuine joy. May I ask what changed? Actually, you don't have to explain everything right now. We'll talk in the hospital. Can you come to the hospital right now? Given Liam's condition, I'd like to see you both immediately. Amanda looked at Snoop, who nodded without hesitation. Yes, we can be there soon, she replied. Excellent, Dr. Carter said. I'll alert the team and start preparing for immediate pre-surgery assessments. We'll be ready when you arrive. As Amanda ended the call, Snoop was already moving towards the door. Let's go, he said. We'll take your van. Amanda hesitated for a moment. Are you sure? Your car would probably be faster. Snoop shook his head with a smile. Nah, your van is perfect. Plus, I don't want to attract public attention with my Cadillac. We're here to help, not make a press conference. Amanda felt a wave of gratitude wash over her at Snoop's considerate gesture. She quickly gathered Liam's essentials, a change of clothes, his favorite toy, and his medical documents. Within minutes, they were out the door and heading to Amanda's old weathered van. As Amanda secured Liam in his car seat, that has been transferred back by the guards, Snoop climbed into the passenger seat. The contrast between the world-famous rapper and the humble vehicle was stark, but Snoop seemed completely at ease. Amanda started the engine, which sputtered to life after a couple of tries. As they pulled away from the curb, she couldn't help but glance at Snoop. Thank you for this, she said softly, for everything. Snoop nodded, his expression serious. You don't need to thank me, Amanda. This is what it's all about, helping each other when we can. As they drove through the evening traffic, Snoop opened up about his own background. He shared stories of his childhood poverty, of selling candy and delivering newspapers just to survive. His candid revelations about growing up in a crime-ridden neighborhood helped bridge the gap between their different worlds, making Amanda more comfortable. That's why I started my foundation, he explained. I wanted to give back, to help people who are in the same situation I once was. Amanda listened intently, occasionally glancing in the rearview mirror at Liam, who was quietly playing with his toy in the back seat. The reality of what was happening, that they were on their way to potentially life-saving treatment, was still sinking in. As they neared the hospital, Snoop's voice took on a more reflective tone. You know, Amanda, every act of kindness, no matter how small, can change a life. Today, we're changing too. Amanda felt tears welling up in her eyes at his words. I just want him to have a chance, she said softly. Snoop nodded. And now he will, but remember, this isn't just about Liam. You've got talent, Amanda. Once Liam is on the road to recovery, we're going to work on your music career. This is a new beginning for both of you. As they pulled up to the hospital entrance, Amanda felt a surge of hope unlike anything she'd experienced in months. She parked the van and turned to look at Liam, who was blissfully unaware of the significant moment they were in. Ready? Snoop asked gently. Amanda nodded, taking a deep breath. Ready. They got out of the van, Amanda carefully lifting Liam from his car seat. As they walked towards the hospital doors, Amanda felt as though she was stepping into a new chapter of their lives. With Snoop by her side and Liam in her arms, she pushed open the hospital doors, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, with renewed hope and unexpected support.